And joining me to discuss this, we have Ignazio Corrao, an Italian MEP from the Five Star Movement, Saskia Bricmont, Belgian MEP from the Green CFA Group, still with us, and also Fabrice Potier from Rasmussen Global. Of course, Ignazio, I'm going to go to you first with Gentiloni's hearing there. How do you think it went, actually?
I think it went well because after the hearing, there was a decision taken by the coordinators of the different groups, and I think it passed with a large majority.
But someone as controversial as him taking on this budget portfolio, I mean,
it's difficult not to find something controversial when it comes to
but this
budget.
Is too obvious.
There's a different sensibility on this matter coming from different member states, and of course something that is to be done is to give the right tools to different member states in a time when many of the member states are suffering because of the budget problems. So the hope is that the next Commission and Paolo Gentiloni will be working on economic affairs can give some fresh air to the member state in order to make investments and grow.
I mean, fresh air. I will ask you guys this as well, but I'll ask you first. Is it right to give an Italian, for example, the portfolio, the budget portfolio?
Well, Italy is one of the founder countries, it's the third bigger, and of course it has to have an important portfolio. So, but Paolo Gentiloni will be working for the whole European Union, with the idea of giving growth to all the 27 states. So it's not he said that, and I believe it, is not the commissioner of Italy working for Italy.
When he says it's growth, I mean, do you expect that change in his approach to Italy in terms of, he's a suggestion here that, okay, I'm going to focus on growth, meaning a less tighter hold on the budget?
Yeah, but I think even Ursula von der Leyen said the same thing, that she will be as flexible as she can within the rules. And I think there is this new consensus that we need to loosen a bit, and we need to use, for some countries, the fiscal surplus and inject it in the economy, because as we heard before, we are on the edge of a recession. So are we going to go for austerity, or on the contrary, are we going to loosen a bit the purse and inject more public funds in the economy? So I think there's this new consensus, and I don't see the Italian commissioner drifting away from that.
You think there's a consensus in the EU for a more growth-oriented future now?
I think even in Germany, there is a pretty robust debate in the German government about how to move away from this kind of black zero rule that was, driving them.
What do you think, Saskia?
The nomination of Lagarde also goes in that sense. I mean, she also said austerity measures were not effective as such, and that we have to rethink the model. So it goes in the same way. Yeah. And on Gentiloni, yeah, it seems that he passed his audition this morning. The Greens are also willing to support him. He answered positively to the questions we had to address him on a fair taxation system, for instance, on integrating climate change dimension in the big reform. So, well,
what do you think of the hearings so far? I mean, some have been getting a lot harder. I mean, we were discussing earlier before we went to the panel that there's a lot more differences or split among MEPs and groups. Do you find that this is what's happening in the process? I'll go to you.
Well, what I think is that the process of hearings is a very democratic and good thing that should be replied in all the member states as a democratic exercise, that the members of parliament can judge the ones that will be working on some portfolio. Of course, any different, we had already two designated commissioners that were
not accepted,
not accepted by the parliament, and we have another one, Sylvie Goulard, that needs a second round. So I think it's an important exercise in order to check. This is our duty. We are elected by the European people in order to make this.
And how does this bode for the Commission of Ursula von der Leyen so far?
So far, it depends on the commissioners. Two failed already. The jury committee decided not to give them a green light on conflict of interest matters. Others made quite good additions, I think, and the one I followed, for example, Mr. Hogan for trade, was not convincing to me, and for the Greens. That's
but he had an easy time getting through, I think, with Phil Hogan from Ireland.
He went through, yes, but for us, they have to show also the openness to the Parliament and that they're willing to reform their policies, and not only to to have the business as usual and to follow up the previous commission. And
Okay.
it didn't show this openness.
Okay.
It's different with other commissioners, and for
And
instance,
just very
Reinders
quickly, a
or-
quick comment on Margarita Skinas, whose hearing is happening. So,
Well, I think
on the European way of life,
exactly.
the controversial.
The unfortunate
unfortunately
title, and I would have reframed it as the, European democratic way of life, because I think we can all agree with that. As the European way of life is quite loaded, and as we know, it was part of the kind of CDU, kind of more to the right slogan. But to come back to commissioners and the hearing, I think Sylvie Goulard is interesting because she's one of the strongest on substance and on competence.
Okay.
She's being challenged on her character and her choices. I think there's a show of force from the EPP and the Socialists.
Right.
And the question is whether they're going to take it further. I think it would be a shame
Okay.
because the Commission will lose
Okay.
a great person.
All right, well, we have run out of time on that. But before we go, we do have time to look at our raw moment. We never know what's going to happen when Donald Trump and a foreign leader meet. So he met with the Finnish leader, and let's have a look at what happened.
We've gotten to know each other well, the president of Finland, and we'll have a long time together today. We'll then be having lunch. I think we're going to be seeing the media right afterwards.
I'm waiting for our discussions.
Yes, yes. See, he's a man of few words and he gets it done. That's what I like. Finland is a happy
What
country.
can you learn? What can you learn from Finland?
Finland is a happy country. He's a happy leader, too.
Was that an unexpected reaction from the Finnish leader?
It's very Trump. Huh?
Oh, it's very Trump.
style.
It is, it is. And yeah, you just never know what to expect from him, I suppose, when you're a leader. Be ready. All right, and now that's all for tonight. Thank you so much for watching Raw Politics. And again, use the hashtag Raw Politics to get in touch with us. We're looking forward to all your comments. Thanks again.